What's going on there, guys? We back with another one, and there seems to be an online beef brewing between the two most beloved players in Carolina Panthers history, Cam Newton and Steve Smith. That's right. And some of Cam Newton's comments over the last few weeks I knew would rub Steve Smith the wrong way, and he has finally come out and spoken about it. So now we're going to get into those clips. I'm going to break this thing down. Let's check it out.
We've got a former league MVP right here on the set right now in Cam. I ask you, Cam, if you could give back that league MVP for a Super Bowl championship, would you do it?
Nope.
Oh,
Really?
really?
Wow.
Because you have to ask it through this lens. That was a very journalistic viewpoint or vantage point or response, Stephen A.
That would
I'll
be me.
ask you this question, and just to pose this thought: what's more important, impact or championships? You look at a guy like Allen Iverson, who you stood up on the table and blah 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 blah. Everybody's not going to be Michael Jordan. Everybody's not going to be Patrick Mahomes. Everybody's not going to be these individuals who have the luxury of saying, hey, I not only dominated this sport, but I also have championships to back it. Like, let me remind you, Brad Johnson won a Super Bowl. Trent Dilfer won a Super Bowl. Respectfully, Nick Foles won a Super Bowl. So, yes, when you look at those guys and you say, okay, what's more important? Would you have preferred to win a Super Bowl? I think that's the humble approach, but if we're being honest, the impact of you holding yourself accountable to say everybody has a responsibility to do. And you can say as an MVP award winner or an All-American, you've held yourself or you've held your end of the bargain down. And that's what it really comes down to for me. I know that's not the popular pick. I'm trying to be popularized. But my take is I'm taking individual success because I did my job. Football is not about one guy trying to do 11 jobs. It's 11 guys doing one job. And if everybody does their job best, famous words of our coach, Belichick, just do your job.
Do it.
When I was the first pick, I went into a locker room of losers.
How did you handle the pressure of being the top pick?
Let's put it in perspective. You're the top pick because what?
Where you play?
No. You're looking at it from a personal situation. I'm talking about from the professional situation. You're the top pick because that was the worst team in the NFL the year before. For me, I wanted to be the number one pick. You could potentially be the first pick, but bro, you have no way of impacting the game like a quarterback does. You can lock down the number one receiver. You can make impact plays on offense all you want, but it's still not like a quarterback. My issue is when I was the first pick, I went into a locker room of losers. Guys didn't know how to win. Guys didn't know how to prepare. It was a culture shock for me. The games don't mean a lot to a lot of people in the league like you would expect. It's just money. Not everybody has capabilities to be impact players. They're just players.
And so that last clip made it on the Steve Smith's radar about an hour ago, and he says, 53-man locker room minus one, 52 losers. Wow. Breaking news to 89 with the angry emoji. And somebody said this clip was chopped up, 89. Don't bite on that BS. And Steve Smith said we keep calling the things and people BS. And so Steve Smith's been watching from afar, and this is his final statement. And I think he's going to leave it alone. Next thing will be him and Cam, either a phone call or they see each other somewhere and they talk about it or whatever. Now he says this: I've watched and listened from afar as you at Cameron Newton talk about at Panthers. None of us are perfect. Yes, we were 2-14 before you blessed us with your presence. The way you have talked about the Panthers lately, I'm very disappointed. I wish you nothing but the best. I'm done. And so this sounds more like a disappointed big brother. And I remember when Cam Newton first came into the league, they were talking about how Steve Smith, took him under his wing. They was out there working out together and really getting that work in. Now, for reference, Steve Smith was on the Panthers team where Jake Delhomme was the quarterback in the Super Bowl that they made it to, but he was the vet still in the locker room when Cam Newton arrived. And he still could play. Like, it wasn't just a vet with a voice. He was still a high level football player at the time. But, I think he's still offended by what Cam said about the Super Bowl because he was still covering the Panthers and doing some things around the organization at the time. And Cam Newton, for him to come out and say that, I'm thinking about Luke Kuechly and some of those guys. I wonder how they feel about some of his comments about his individual success being more important than the team success. It's not nothing I would even utter, even if it's the unpopular answer. And I know some people feel like that deep down inside, but in a team sport, it's not a message you want to send out to others who looked up to you as a player. You keep some of your selfish goals as a player, you keep to yourself. You try to achieve them within the confines of the team. But someone who is as competitive as Steve Smith, someone, if the football was loose, you see how Cam Newton didn't die for it, we would never have that discussion about a Steve Smith. He's going to go full throttle each and every time. He's going to fight, too, if, somebody gets on his nerves or whatever. I believe I believe he's that viral Jalen Ramsey clip where he said, "Who getting in who head? What you think?" and all that. I think he was talking about Steve Smith at that time, but I believe he was on the Ravens by then. But man, yeah, Steve Smith is not one to be played with, and I think him and Cam, I would like to see them talk about it. I always wondered why I haven't seen them together more, or I haven't seen him on Cam Newton's podcast. It just seems like the two most important players in the history of the Carolina Panthers, the noticeable distance that they have kept from one another. For me, that's just, and they don't have to be best friends, but to not have collaborated at all, or you never see them do anything at no point. That part right there is the part that's a bit confusing for me because I'm like, man, it's kind of a natural fit just for them to pick each other brain. Cam to reminisce about how he was his vet when he came in the league and some of the knowledge he bestowed upon him, to help him further his game, even though he wasn't a quarterback, just, how to navigate the league. And we haven't gotten that. And they both do podcasts, and they both in the media space. So, I don't know, man. He said he's done talking about it. Cam is going to have to respond to this. This will be too big. With it coming from Steve Smith and their positions in Carolina Panthers lore. You can't ignore this one. So we'll look to see what he says back, guys. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Till next time. Peace.